What is up, you guys? We're here for our weekly energy oracle forecast. I got in a little later from work than usual, so I got a late start. So hopefully you'll see this by morning for Monday. I enjoyed our episode of Secret Teachings of Jesus last night. We got into the first portion of the Gospel of Mary, and we went deep. We got into, it related into quantum mechanics and ancient Kabbalistic wisdom secrets and all kinds of things. So that is really, really amazing. So go check that episode out. And let's get into the reading. Let's see what kind of energy we can expect for the week ahead. Okay, so the crown chakra came up first. This is divine inspiration, downloads. It's interesting during Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there are hours and hours and hours of rituals and prayers and readings and songs. And one of the rituals is to choose a personal wish. And you can choose between divine inspiration, sustenance, like provisions through the year, or to have righteous children. And then basically you choose which wish that you have, and you scan the text that goes with those columns, the Hebrew text that goes with those columns. And so the sages say that if you want all three, then choose, if you don't know what to pick and you want all three, then choose divine inspiration, because no matter what, divine inspiration will lead you, will guide you, will protect you, will provide for you, right? So if you have divine inspiration coming through, then you'll have incredible ideas that you can follow up on. You will feel guided. You will feel that you have direction. And even if you don't have direction, you will feel more of a grounded sense of trust that when the moment is right, when the moment is right for you to have the information that you need, that God will let you see or hear or find that out. So I love this. I feel like something is coming through. You might be feeling insights or ideas coming up this week. So I love that. Maybe new levels of revelation. Oh, joy. Okay. Oh, I forgot. Okay. So Sukkot is this week, which is the Feast of Tabernacles. And so during the time, when we talk about, or at least when I'm telling you guys about these Jewish holidays, they're not just affecting only Jewish people. This is these cosmic windows of energy that are open and available to us during these times of year. And so if you're conscious and you connect to it, then that increases your relationship with that flow of energy. Well, during Rosh Hashanah, that's our spiritual new year, and that's our annual judgment day, where we go before the heavenly courts and a decree is declared according to our consciousness and our transformation and our effort and our giving and our sharing and our willingness to see the error of our ways, or to think new thoughts and have a new consciousness and be renewed and different, or forgive or whatever. So all of that is combined in this judgment, and it determines the kind of year that we will have to come. And so during that time, a lot of our soul goes into the upper realms. We get to keep just enough to stay alive in our body, but it goes up into the upper realms and it goes through this process. And then we are taken through 7 days where everything's in flux, and we're going through challenges and tests and kind of having an opportunity to reconfigure and have last minute insights and transformation and make that last minute effort, until then we come to the feast of Yom Kippur, where we suppress and restrict the consciousness of the body by not partaking in the comforts of the flesh, so that we empty ourselves, we make ourselves a clean vessel for our soul to come back to our body, refreshed, renewed, and ready for the next year to come. Well, it is during the following period of time where we have the holiday of Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles. And during this holiday, we're exposed to an essence of the light that basically has the opportunity to kind of turbocharge our soul for the year. But the way that we connect with that in Sukkot, whereas Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are more solemn and serious and contemplative and pensive, Sukkot is like, it's about joy. And so the more joy and appreciation you can feel during this week and maybe over the next 8 days or so, that is going to draw that light in with more magnetism and power. And I realize that in the times that we're living in, it takes effort to hold on to your joy, to hold on to inspiration. And it's all too easy to fall into dread and fear and anxiety and despair. But the challenge to hold on to our humanity is to maintain that joy, that sense of joy, and the ability to be playful. And it's really difficult right now, especially if you have any kind of compassion or empathy for other people and you've been informed and stayed up on current events of what's going on. It's difficult to feel joy right now. And I think part of being a spiritual person is that it comes with this paradox of having your heart more open and having your consciousness more aware of others. And so by default, we are going to be feeling other people's suffering because we're going to see them. So we have to work extra hard to be able to maintain our lightness and our joy so that we can share that light and joy with others as well. And, we can't beat ourselves up. My niece one day recently, she was saying that she felt like sometimes she wasn't being a good Christian because she wasn't always happy and light and happy-go-lucky. And she felt like in order to be a good Christian and to make Jesus look good, essentially, to set a good example for others, that she should be light and she should be joyous. And while that's true, we can't be expected to be in that state all the time. And if it's not honest, then that's not very helpful either, because I think that's why people go around feeling that same way. They feel like they have to wear a mask and they feel like they're not authentic. And then it sort of makes us feel extra lonely and extra, disheartened because we feel alone in our suffering. And the truth is that everyone has pain and everyone has suffering. And so I think to be honest about that and to be able to share it with others, but to be able to say, you know what, even in these darkest times, I might cry 1 minute and 10 minutes later, I can crack a joke, and it's like we have to be able to have that balance, right? And to give ourselves the mercy of having the full range, the full spectrum of the human experience. So I think that happiness is flimsy. Happiness is topical. It's surface level. Happiness is conditional. Things go well, I feel happy. But joy is something that is resounding through sorrow. It's something that is sustained, like a note that gets hit on a piano and it just keeps holding and it keeps just resonating. When someone hits the key and the sound just keeps on going. And I think that is the kind of joy that we have to have. It's that, even in times of sorrow, we know that we're not forsaken and we don't fall into absolute despair. That is where resilience comes from. That is where we have to draw on that strength to be able to find that sense of joy. And it doesn't mean that we have to be insensitive or lacking in couth in inappropriate situations. But I think that, we've all been to a funeral or a wake or something at one point where the tears break through into laughter because it's just, we need that relief, and everything is just so tender, and everything you feel like you're feeling everything all at once. So I think joy is something that we build, and it's a foundational virtue in our spirit and in our soul that we have to carry with us, and it helps sustain us during those dark times, during the dark nights of the soul. Joy stays with you. Happiness comes and goes, but joy can be made stronger, right? It's a fruit of the spirit. Happiness isn't a fruit of the spirit because it's a topical emotion, but joy is a virtue. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, forgiveness, self-control. I throw in gratitude. I think that they left out gratitude, and I don't think that they should have, right? And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it was Jesus that gave us the listed out fruits of the spirit. It was Paul. So Paul dropped the ball. Paul dropped the ball. He should have added gratitude, I believe. So part of Sukkot and part of drawing down that light is, one, our joy, but also our appreciation, our gratitude. All right. Man, I just looked at Instagram real quick before I turned on this video, and I saw a clip of The Chosen season 5 where Jesus is in the marketplace condemning the Pharisees, and oh man, that's like my favorite scene. And I've been taking a break from The Chosen because I'm watching fall shows, but I can't help but like miss it and want to watch it like every day, because if you want a comfort show, my God, that's the one. I mean, it gives so much hope, but I love to watch that show because it's like you get to study Jesus in the flesh, like you were there with them, and in a way, you know, from an artistic perspective, an artist's portrayal, but that you get to see the disciples and who they were and how they were, and what each of their own unique struggles were, and how each of them represents a part of us in some way or another. You get to see how Jesus responded and reacted to people, and how they reacted and responded to him. You know, and if you watch the show like religiously, like psychotically, like I do, it's like you start to pick up on subtle nuances and things that maybe would slip under your radar if it was just like a one-time pass, like you just watched it once. And I think that what the show does is it fleshes out things in such a way that it brings it into the 3D off the paper that we read. It warms up the text. It puts it into context. Whereas when you're just reading it, you don't you connect with it, but like you see it in Technicolor. And it I don't know, it's just remarkable to me. But anyway, Jesus was condemning the Pharisees, and it gave me joy. It gave me comfort to see that. Psyche. Okay. So yes, this is like when we finally can align our heart and soul and mind and strength. When we can look at this is the joy crowning this. And it's like, what happened? Joy, the purple here relates back to divinity and divine inspiration. And then we have love here. So we have love, we have joy, and we have divine inspiration. And that is what holds us in alignment. Otherwise, our fear, right? Our feelings of doubt, or our fears of lack, our feelings and consciousness of lack. Those are the things that throw us out of alignment and create chaos and dissonance in our life, right? And they throw us out of alignment with the Holy Spirit. Right? The Holy Spirit, we can really tap into that guidance when we are at peace, and we are in faith, and we are in a state of love. But when we're in a state of judgment or hatred or fear or prejudice, right, then we disconnect ourselves from the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit and God and Jesus, they're always there. Jesus, the Christ, emanating through our heart, right? The Holy Spirit is always there, emanating through our heart. God is always there, dropping down all of this inspiration, pouring down upon us. But what happens is that if we're not open, if we don't invite that in, if we're not consciously choosing it, we cut ourselves off from it. So the love coming from the upper realms is unconditional and eternal and unwavering, but we cut our signal in and out. We don't get full reception because our ego is toyed with by our adversary. And so the adversary gets in and whispers into the ego and tries to bait us into negativity, essentially, which is going to separate us from our light, our connection, severs our connection. So the only fear, my teacher, Michael Berg from the Kabbalah Center, the head teacher at the Kabbalah Center, he says, and it probably comes from his father, the Rav Berg, says that the only thing we should fear is being cut off or separated from the Creator. To the fear of losing our inner peace that cuts us off from the Creator, or the fear of being overcome with judgment that cuts us off from the Creator. The only thing to be afraid of is being cut off from the Creator. If you are connected and aligned and plugged in, then you are under the bosom, the wing of the Creator, and you're in that flow of protection, and the Holy Spirit will provide for you. I was stressed out about finances and money and just a lot of things today. And, sometimes when we fear for ourselves, it makes us defensive and we want to shut other people out. We want to take care of our needs first. And I was driving to work and I saw this man. There's certain places on my street on the way into work that there are always people there that are unhoused and they need things, and they might be selling the Contributor, which is the newspaper, or they might just be holding a sign. It depends on who it is. That we have a regular that's part of the community. He sells the paper. Sometimes his wife's there selling the paper with him, but it wasn't him today. It was a stranger I'd never seen, and this man, he had a sign that said hungry. And he just looked desperate. And I was actually hungry too. And I wanted to stop for something like a sandwich. And I didn't think I could afford it today. It was just too much money to spend. I mean, it's not going to put me out of house and home, but things add up. And so you're just okay, I'm going to be more conscious of my money. Even fast food is just so expensive anymore. And I was just man, I'm hungry, but I don't want to stop. I want to save money. And I saw him and he just looked so desperate. And I was I know what it feels like to be hungry because I'm hungry right now. And I'm not even starving. I eat once a day. And I know that tonight when I get home from work, I'll have something to eat. And I can wait till then. And I try to keep cash in my wallet in case somebody needs it. And I was well, I wish he was on the other side of the road because now I feel I'm on the weird side of the lane and I don't know if I can get it to him. And I remembered I still had cash in my wallet and I was you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna try. And the light was red and I was it's gonna turn green any minute. And I rolled down the window and I yelled out, "Sir!" And he turned around immediately and I held out my money to him and he ran over and he was just "God bless you, thank you so much." And it just broke my heart, but it gave me so much appreciation for that opportunity in that moment. Because had I not been hungry, I may not have really seen him. I may have been in my own world and focused on myself. And I might have left him there without anything, thinking, oh, people will give $1 here and $1 there. But I thought, no, I'm going to give him this wad of money because it's going to cost him. It's going to cost at least $15 to $20 just to get a decent meal, a sandwich and something with it. And I was so grateful that I was conscious today. And then I got to work and I had a good shift and I had people who tipped me extra, and we had a meal that was left over that they had fed the kitchen staff with, that we got to eat the leftovers of that. It was soggy nachos. But then later we had some more food come out that was good and hot and fresh, and we made it. And now I can smell my dinner in the oven, So that is being aligned with your heart, mind, soul, and spirit. It's being present. It's being alert. It's seeing when something is authentically, there in front of you, and it's your assignment, because I know if I had waited and I hadn't made the effort, if I hadn't just pushed myself to see if I could get that money out in time and see if I could reach him and see if I got his attention, if I just let it go, it would be haunting me right now. Right? And so, I wish I had money to give to everyone and to help everyone that needed it. And we don't always have it to give to everyone, but that there's those moments where you get that tug in your stomach and in the depths of your heart, and you're like, this is one person that I need to be the person who gives to this person. Right? So when we are that vessel of sharing, it opens up the vessel of receiving, because God knows that he can trust you with what you're going to be given, you're going to share. So it actually does not expose us to be giving and to be empathic, but it actually shields us and protects us and gives us sustenance and grace and mercy as we can extend it to others. And I don't have it for everyone. I don't. I'll be honest. Like the people in my life that I see that are not making an effort, and they just never make an effort year after year. It's like some people that I've worked with over time, and they just want to, keep going around the same patterns at the expense of everyone else. I'm not as empathetic with them. And maybe I should be, or maybe it's letting people learn from their own mistakes. I don't know, but you don't have to be perfect. You just have to make an effort, right? None of us are perfect, right? So making an effort does more than doing nothing, right? And even, the most empathetic person can lose their patience or feel hardened or hard-hearted at times. And that's why even a person like me who tries round the clock with prayers in the morning, during the day, in the afternoon, fasting, ritualing, like self-help, spirituality, religion, everything. I watch The Chosen. I still can be an asshole, but then there are moments where I have my good moments too, right? So the empathy that we have for others, we also have to extend it to ourselves, because if we don't have mercy for ourselves, then we don't have it for other people either, right? So we can't expect ourselves to be perfect. We can't be harshly critical and judge ourselves, but we also can't always let ourselves off the hook either. We have to push ourselves to do better, but not be tyrants with ourselves either. And so giving yourself the leeway to not self-loathe for making mistakes, but also to make an effort to open up yourself to feel others. Let others in. And it like, look at me, I've cried almost every day we had a video for I don't know how, the whole year. But honestly though, too, in an hour I can be sprightly and twirling around. And I think that I would rather feel the full spectrum of the feelings of humankind than go through life living in a shallow puddle, feeling neither the depths of despair or the heights of joy. So when you can feel those heights of joy, it also means that you can feel the deep valleys and the deep lows, right? So, if you're a person that struggles back and forth, you're not alone. You're not alone. And it doesn't mean that you're broken. It probably means that your heart is open and that you can have eyes to see and ears to hear, right? And it probably means that can make you a blessing to others as well. Manifest. So, this week, opening ourselves up to the presence of God coming down, trying to have appreciation, trying to have joy, will manifest a greater year ahead. It will manifest more light to be revealed through your soul, and more blessings and more sustenance will be coming. I was stressed about money, and then I looked through my tip out reports through the week, and I realized that I had made, this is the best week that I had had in a long time, maybe ever at that restaurant, other than the time that one guest left me like a $1,400 tip on one table. But then all the other shifts I worked during the week put me into the next tax bracket, and then a lot of it was taken away. So I didn't end up making all that much money that week. I just made like an average amount of money that week. But this week I think I did better than that week because I didn't fuck myself into the next tax bracket. So, and I've been trying to be extra conscious about being a responsible steward with my money, and where I can be more generous and more conscious with, am I tithing? Am I keeping up with that? Am I using moments to be a vessel of sharing? Right? And am I using that in a way that I rely on divine inspiration to show me when to do that? Or, you can get robotic and you can just get in a routine. Oh, I'm just going to give it to this charity. Oh, I'm just going to give it to this charity. Well, what about when the moment comes around that like the person that week that really needed it, that needed your tithe, shows up, and then you're like, oh, it's not like you can't give more and give an offering, but I know a lot of us are barely making ends meet at the moment. So, my parents always set that example for me, that they would let God tell them where to direct their tithe. And yeah, I think that's good wisdom, because today part of my tithe went to this man who really needed it. And he looked pitiful, and I didn't want to turn my face away from him. I thought about Jesus in that moment. What you do for the least of these, you do for me. And so many times an angel or Jesus can be disguised in that costume, in that flesh suit of what doesn't look nice to look at. When we want to turn away, we don't want to see the things that are hard to look at, the things that don't smell nice, the things that don't look nice. Well, that's where Jesus probably is, and that's where the gift is for you. You're not helping that person. They're actually helping you. You're not giving to them. They are giving to you, because your opportunity to share gives you grace. It's mercy that you receive, not the other way around. There is giving in the receiving, and there is receiving in the giving. All right. Well, I am emotional. Emo, and I am hungry, and I am tired because it is like after midnight. So I am gonna eat my dinner, and I'm gonna try to have a good night's sleep, and I will see y'all tomorrow for our weekly anchor message, where we will be getting our spiritual lessons for the week to come. All right, y'all. Ciao.